Alright, we're doing an MTL800 one-handed for Lockpicking Engineers Challenge. Of course, his challenge only wanted a green belt lock, but we're going straight to black belt because we like challenge. My right hand will be down here the whole time, and I will do all my manipulation of tools and whatnot with only my left hand, which is why I put a little cup here to hold my alpha pick and my multi-pick 10 flag. We're also going to use a Z-bar tensioner, which I usually wouldn't use, but it lets me tension the lock with just my pinky, which I kind of need to be able to do in order to do this one-handed. So my pinky is currently the boss. The first thing we're going to do is get all the sliders set. It's the most important part of what makes this lock black belt. It's just getting these sliders set correctly. If you don't have them set correct, the whole rest of the picking process is difficult. You'd always try to pick them when they're actually binding, but that's honestly way harder than just picking them right away and then trying not to move them during the entire pick. But if you don't get them right, the sidebar won't move out on the way easily enough, and you won't get any of your false sets or any of that fun stuff, and you'll be sitting there picking pins for an unbelievable amount of time. So to start, I just try to move all the sliders over to the right as they kind of start in the middle position when the key pulls them out, and just bouncing tension a little bit. If there's any of them that are close to correct, when that sidebar comes up, it kind of forces its way into the gate. So by applying tension, scraping in the middle here, we can tell which is set or not. So 1 is not set, 2 is grabbing pretty hard, so it's already set, 3 is set, 4 is not quite there. Gonna go ahead and make sure it's actually pushed where it needs to be. Give it those bounces. 1, 2, 3, 4 is now pretty good, I think. And 5 is questionable. I'm going to actually do here, double check. 5 might be good, but 4 is definitely not. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get 4 manipulated over to the right. Give it those bounces while trying to keep this tension out of the way so I have room to get my pick in there. 2 is good still, 3 is good still, 4 is good now, 5 also feels good. So I think that leaves just number 1. So if we look here, yeah, number 1 is definitely pretty stiff. I'm going to move it over to the left a little bit, give it some bounces, and then now we're going to test. I think that's already good. I think it's already hooked on pretty good. 2, 3, 4, 5. So I believe we have all our sliders in position. So now let's go ahead and work on the pin stacks. We're going to manipulate the pin stacks for a little bit, hoping to get into a false set. In this case, I know that the false set that I get is going to be pretty shallow because there's a spool on my interactive element. I don't know if all MTL800s have a spool on the interactive element, but this one does, and because of that, once I get all the outer set, I actually end up on that spool. So it's a very small false set then. And if I don't get to it, That tells me that even though I thought the sliders were good, they actually aren't. But there we go. So I got that false set right there. That tells me it's alpha pin time. So we'll do our one-handed changeover. Get this pick in here. The alpha pin lives where pin 6 would be, but a little bit off to the center of the lock instead of the right side. Gotta get in there. This actually requires more tension control than any other part of the pick process, which means my pinky is working overtime. Gotta find that spot again. There we go. And boom, now we got that deep false set right away, which tells us all the outers are set and just the inners are left. So we'll go try to find any binding inners. We do have a couple of counter-milled outers in this lock. I think there's 3 total. We'll see when we gut if my memory is correct. But we gotta basically give them all pokes until we get that open. There we go. There you have it. That's a black belt lock picked, one-handed. Pretty cool achievement, I think. It's not the first time I've done it. I did screw up a couple times last night in the gutting process, so we're going to try to be really careful with that. I will be pulling my second hand in to help with that. Hopefully, lockpicking engineer doesn't mind. So I'll leave this lock in frame as good as I can. And I'll actually, what I'll do is we'll adjust the camera to be more top down. Try to not bounce the camera a bunch. And then get my light to be a little more top focused as well. Make that life easier. Alright, so we have, well, first we're going to relock it because I'm going to gut this with the key to make my life easier. So relock it. Try to stop the camera from bouncing around here. Hopefully we're good. It's not exactly the most secure of cameras, so let me get this situated. Alright, that should be good. So we got our retaining plate on the back. Oh, there goes my little retaining cap. There's nothing special about it. Tailpiece. There is a tip stop for the key, which I like to try to keep in just because it helps me get the key in the right spot when I'm gutting, but it will drop out. Yeah. Oh well. So we'll just have to get the key to the right spot to where the lock turns. There we go. So there is a ball bearing located on the right of keyway, which is what I'm primarily concerned with not dropping. So we'll go ahead, get our follower in there, and there's our ball bearing. Carefully get everything out while trying to hold the sidebar. Set this down here momentarily. Okay, so the difficulty is there's stuff on 3 sides here. All of it wants to fall out, so we'll drop this ball bearing out right there. And then what I'm actually going to take out next is the sidebar on the bottom. So very carefully trying not to drop any pins. Bring that sidebar up. And where did I put my tweezers? There it is. So there are 2 tiny little springs under this, so I want to keep that good. You can see the sidebar is intact. It's got its nice bites there. Put that back. Gonna grab the two tiny little springs and hopefully not send them to Narnia. One's down on the table. And the other one, come on, don't fly on me. There we go. I actually even landed that other one right where I needed it to go. So you can see the sliders in there. If we get in close, they all line up with the center of that. They're going to stay in as long as I keep the key in. So I'm going to keep the key in for just a little bit here so I don't drop anything I don't intend on. There's our 6 pins. What I'm going to do now is block the slider channel while pulling the key out and grabbing these pins. So here's pin 2, the outer and inner. Try to get 3 here. The inner and outer. See if we can get any more of these to levitate up for us so they're easier to grab. There's 4. Come on, inner. That inner doesn't want to fall out, so there it goes. Inner and outer. Let's see what else we can get, if any. I don't think the other ones want to come directly up. One will come up here for us. Maybe not enough though. There it is. So there's one. Dump the inner out of it. Alright, so 5 and the interactive are still sitting there. We're going to take this out and turn it so that the sliders don't fall out. I'm going to block the sliders with my thumb and get just the interactive out. There's an inner, which does absolutely nothing. It's for patent extension on the MTL800. And then the outer. The outer is kind of pretty unique, so we'll take a look at that shortly. And then now we have just 5 left. I'm going to try to dump him out. His inner and outer came out in one go. And there's our pins. So now let's get these sliders out as the last bit. I'm actually going to set them over here to the side. So I kind of like to grab them instead of dump them just because they don't fly as much, but I might not be able to do that as easily as I thought. I feel like I've done it before, but I'm not getting it right now, so we're just going to dump slider 1 right here. And 2 right here. I said 2 right here. 3, 4. Come on. Again, they're not sprung, so they don't necessarily cooperate 100%. So there's my 5 sliders. Let's take a quick look at the core here. So you can see there's our 6 pinhole spots, and at the top or at the back here, the 6th one, you can see there's a little, if I can get the lighting correct, there's a little hole where the interactive goes in. There's nothing really special about the chambers. They have some sort of line at the top. I don't know if that's supposed to be some sort of overmilling on them. If it is, it doesn't really, it catches the pick a tiny bit. You can see that small transition, but I don't know if it's actually just a manufacturing leftover or intentional. Regardless, I don't think it has much of an effect on picking. This is an anti-drill ball bearing. There's our spot for the sidebar and another anti-drill. And then our slider channels go in that way to basically go with the pins. And I don't know if you can see it in there, but the interactive pokes its little head out right in this spot where the pick's at. And there is a little channel there. That's how I've been finding it, is I kind of find this little divot, and that's where the interactive lives. Nothing else special about the core. So we're going to go ahead, put it up here, and take a look at these sliders. So each slider is basically the same from the top. Where they change is the bottom. There is a cut for a true gate, and you can see a little bit of serrations for false gates. I don't know that the false gates are really effective, but the real change, or bidding change, is just where that true gate cut is. And this is just showing here that all these guys are not you can see they're all just one wide for a single. They're not mastered at all. Nothing super remarkable about these key pins, except some of these outers, I think 3 of them, do have a bit of countermilling that you can, this one you can see has a little bit, if I catch the light there. So if I take like a pick here, and it definitely gets caught in it. Not every one of them has it though. I think only 3 of them do, so this one does not. You see the pick just goes pretty smoothly. 3 looks like it does have it. You can kind of see its reflection, but it's easier to show just by using the pick. You can see the pick gets stuck. 4 looks like it has it as well. Definitely gets stuck. 5 doesn't look like it has it at all, and you can see pick just glides through easily. Here's the cool little alpha pin. So for the MTL800, this alpha pin dimple is really tiny. It's about half the size of the one on the MT5 Plus. The fun part too is I think the inner kind of does absolutely jack all. It doesn't go into the chamber at all. It would technically apply on the inner stack that will show in the driver shortly, but not a big deal. Purely a patent extension mechanism in my opinion. So moving on to the drivers, first thing I'm going to do, pull this back. There is an anti-drill plate right here. There it is. Get that out. So let's go right into driver 1. I'm going to try to get it so that you can see just the inner pin sticking out, so you can tell that the orientation is correct. There's just the inner sticking out. So now let's get the whole guy out of there. I'm just going to grab it by its inner and lift it. Just a standard with a counter-milled inner. All of the inners have that counter-milling spool or whatever, but not all of the outers, as I showed, have it. So moving on to chamber 2. Get just that inner to stick out so you can see the orientation is correct. Grab it out here. Again, just a standard with a spooled inner. The springs are really long in this this Scandi oval. Beautiful format. Go ahead and get this chamber 3 going. There you can see just the inner sticking out. And then we're going to grab onto it and get the whole thing out. So you can see standard outer again with that spooled intersection. Let's get the spring from this guy out. And then what I'm actually going to do is we're going to do the old switcheroo so that it's easier for me to demonstrate. So now we're going to chamber 6, which is our interactive chamber. Like I said earlier while picking, I'm pretty sure this guy is spooled, and it's the only spooled outer. There's the inner. So you can see the orientation is correct. Let's get that guy out. And you can see it is a tiny little spool on the outer as well. So put that there. Getting the spring out when I don't have the center. I wish I had a double down the center for gutting purposes, but I don't, so this is what we're working with for my follower. So let's get to 5. Get just that inner. There we go. Oh, maybe popped up a little bit. Hopefully I can get the light in there well enough that you can see. There's that inner. Grab him and pull him out. I'm trying to be really careful. It's kind of difficult to do it with just this guy, so I might just launch him. So there's our standard for chamber 5. Get the spring out. And then on to our last one, chamber 4. See if I can get this navigated just right to get that inner. There we go. It's very difficult to see in there. Try to get the light at the right angle, but you can see just that inner is sticking up, hopefully. So just the inner sticking up. And I'm going to grab him. Actually, I'm just going to launch him into the chamber and grab him out, just a standard again, and get that spring. At this point, I don't have to worry about the follower anymore, so I might just pull the follower back. So, as for the Scandi oval itself, there is a very prominent sidebar channel on the bottom that you can see. That's where the sidebar lives. Nothing special about the top chambers. There's no grubs in this. You could theoretically grub it, but I just like how it looks, so I've left it as is. So that's our fully gutted lock. We have our 6 outer pins, well, our 5 outer pins and our 1 interactive, and then we got inner pins to go with it, including an inner interactive that does nothing but push against that inner driver portion. And then we have our standard outers, each of them with that inner spool, which would catch on countermilling if it was present on everyone, but it's only on 3 of them. And then a spool for our interactive, very sharp lip, and then a spooled inner there that does effectively nothing because there's no countermilling, there's nothing special, it's just spooled for fun. And then our 5 sliders, anti-drill ball bearing, tip, the standard like ASA style sidebar with its tiny little springs. I guess showing the key too. So the MTL800 key has a split interactive element there. You can see that interactive element's got a little line right down the center of it because it actually is independent on the 2 sides. So one side could be down and the other side can be up like that. If I can get it to focus right, which, there we go. So I can push one side down while the other side stays up. That's the change to the key for patent extension, and then the change to the lock for the patent extension was to add that inner pin. Really impressive stuff. Other than, and by that I'm jesting. The MT5 Plus and MTL800 are effectively the same lock. The only picking difference is, of course, that this nub for the inner, or the interactive, is just a little bit tinier, so it's a little bit harder to find. But other than that, it picks exactly the same. So there's your one-handed MTL800 pick and gut. I hope you all enjoy. See you next time.